Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service. We're at text number 22. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya mudā vasudeve bhagavati kuravantyatma prasadani. One and one. Ataha. Therefore. Vai. Certainly. Kavayaha. All transcendentalists. Nityam. From time immemorial. Bhaktim. Service unto the Lord. Paramaya. Supreme. Mudā. With great delight. Vasudeve. Sri Krishna. Bhagavati. The personality of Godhead. Kurvanti. Do render. Atma. Self. Prasadanim. That which enlivens. Translation: certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to the Lord, Krishna, the personality of Godhead, with great delight, because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. Srila Prabhupada's purport: the speciality of devotional service under the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is specifically mentioned here. Lord Sri Krishna is the Swayam Rupa, personality of Godhead, and all other forms of Godhead, beginning from Sri Baladev, Sankarsana, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Narayan, and extending to the Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Leela avatars, Yuga avatars, and many other thousands of manifestations of the personality of Godhead, are Lord Sri Krishna's plenary portions and integrated parts. The living entities are separated parts and parcels of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Sri Krishna is the original form of Godhead, and he has the last word in the transcendence. Thus, he is more attractive to the higher transcendentalists who participate in the eternal pastimes of the Lord. In forms of the personality of Godhead other than Sri Krishna and Baladev, there's no facility for intimate personal contact, as in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord at Vrajabhumi. The transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna are not newly accepted, as argued by some less intelligent persons. His pastimes are eternal and are manifested in due course, once in a day of Brahmaji, as the sun rises on the eastern horizon at the end of every 24 hours. I first offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to all the previous acharyas, and to all the assembled devotees. Vancha kalpadabhuscha, kripa sindhabevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thanks to His Grace Samba Prabhu and Nitai Sevini Mataji for hosting us here. We're deeply grateful to be here in this jewel of a temple with beautiful deities and activities going on to glorify the Lord in ways that the world is yet to know about here right on the coast. It's an iconic project that you're developing here. And thank you for your welcoming spirit and having us all here in this holy Dham. We're deeply grateful to you both. Hare Krishna. As I was asked to speak today something about book distribution, I normally don't do that necessarily during Srimad Bhagavatam class, otherwise I might be typecast as a one-hit wonder. But it's very important, and it's easily integrated into any conversation. Especially today, when we're commencing our visit to the places that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself visited on his tour of South India. It's highly appropriate, because as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left from Jagannath Puri and set out for South India, as we heard last night, his Shakti for preaching came out. And as he went from place to place in South India, he converted people by the power of his spiritual potency. Of course, that's an understatement, because all the spiritual potency comes from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to say that he was empowered is a bit of a misnomer, since he's the source of all power. Nonetheless, in the context of his role as a devotee of the Lord, as a Vaishnava, he showed that the business of the most advanced devotees is to go on pilgrimage, not simply for sightseeing or even for purification, but to give people an opportunity, wherever they may be, at the holy places, in between the holy places, on the way to the holy places, to take advantage of the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So this verse today reminded me, Atovai kabayo nityam. It's a therefore verse, coming to a conclusion after the paragraph before it, in which we started with Shushusho Shradhanasya Vaisesika Dasa, then Srinvatam Swakata Krishna, Nashta Prayesha Padreshu, Evam Prasanna Manaso, Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha, Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangha Sajayate. That verse mentions, or that paragraph mentions, that when we come into the association of devotees, we naturally become inclined to hear more about Krishna. Otherwise, everyone in the world is inclined to hear randomly. Whatever comes through as breaking news can grab the attention. People hear, they speak about. But when one associates with devotees, satam prasangam mamavirya sambido, bhavanti hrit karna rasayan, tajjo sharat asho pavarga vartmani sharadatir bhaktira nukramishati. There's a way in which the devotees are marked by their penchant for hearing and chanting. And in that assembly, when we hear and chant, smaranta smarayantascha mita kalga haram harim, we are caused by the devotees to remember, and then we become inspired to cause other people to remember Krishna. It's quite natural. And in the process of hearing and chanting, we hear that Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Pritnyantakso Hibadrani. All of those troubling elements that we've collected in the material world, are diminished. Nashtapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Then one's on the precipice of pure devotional service, and as one continues to cultivate Krishna consciousness, one comes into one's own Nashtapareshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Se. Bhagavat Yuttama Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava Kama Lubhadaya. There is a point at which one tips the scale. Tada, at that time. Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava. The lower modes of nature are noticeably absent. Tamo Bhava Kama Lubhadayaschaye. What was troubling before no longer is pressing on us to act irrationally in the material world. Kamaro Chaitaite Anavidam Stitam Sattve Prasidati. And one comes to Sattve. This is not material sattva, but it's Shuddha sattva. Stitam Sattve Prasidati. Then Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata Bhagavad Tattva Vijnana Mukta Sangha Sajayate. At that time, the mind becomes happy. Evam Prasanna. Like Prasade Sarvadukanam Hanir Asupajay Prasanna Chetaso Yashu Pudiparyat. Evam Prasanna Manaso. The mind becomes happy, satisfied. It's impossible to have a satisfied mind in the material world. Nobody has it, anywhere. Doesn't matter what beach they go to, or what drink they take, or how much of a raise they get, the mind's always agitated. But through the process of hearing and chanting in the association of devotees, then Evam Prasanna Manaso, Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata, Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangha Sajayate. One understands very clearly one's relationship with Krishna, the Siddhanta of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Vidyate Hridaya Grantish Chidyante Sarva Samshaya Shiyante Chasya Karmani Drishteva Manishvare. One sees one's position as an eternal servant of the Lord, and at that time all the obligatory relationships with the material world are cut. Vidyate Hridaya Grantish, that knot in the heart that is described by the poet who says, Kamadinam katina katita palita durnideshas. That I've been serving bad masters since the time immemorial, but no more. It's cut, and now I'm going to serve Krishna. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshaya shiyante chasya karamani jushteva manishvare. Then we have this. Ata, therefore, means conclusion. This is a conclusion of this paragraph we just summarized. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya mudā means that person delights in the process. So this is the essence of our preaching. Preaching comes from that feeling of happiness, that I'm so delighted to wake up in the morning and chant Hare Krishna. I'm delighted to see the devotees. I'm delighted to take prasadam. What are you delighted about? Anything? I'm asking, it's not rhetorical. What did you say? Prasadam. I mean, what could be more joyful than sitting with the devotees and having a little kitri with some mango pickle and maybe a papadum, and you see a tulsi leaf on side, and then you just feel naturally happy. What else are you happy about? Seeing the deities. Who gets that experience every day? Most people wake up and look at their phone, television, or something like that. They don't see the beautiful forms of the Lord. Anything else? Krishna Katha. Just sheer pleasure of wanting to hear about Krishna and feeling that I wanted to keep going. I don't want it to stop. One has a sense of natural happiness from hearing about Krishna. 3 more. What? Kirtan. Distributing books. We're getting there. And reading. So when we feel satisfied, ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya mudā. The devotees, they naturally feel happy. Vasudevi Bhagavad Kurvantyatma prasadam. Because they're experiencing prasad. They're getting this grace. It's descending through all these processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, etc. And this is what inspires a devotee to do what might seem to others unthinkable, and that is to go around and meet people and give them an opportunity to hear about Krishna. And that's the essence of the preaching movement. If we have that sense, I'm so happy. Joy wants to share itself with others. If you found out you won the lottery, then you don't go to your room and sit down by yourself. You'd call everybody and say, well, that's not a good idea, actually. Don't tell anybody. But the urge is there. As soon as you attain something, you want to tell people. It's because you're feeling abundance. You want to share it with everybody. So those are feeling the abundance of hearing and chanting. And they notice for themselves that the urges, kama, lobha, dayascha, they're gone. It's like Prabhupada writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the section of the cleansing in the Gudicha Mandir, he paraphrases Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur about the process of anartha nivritti. And so he says, when all of those grains of sand and dirt and debris, which are metaphorical for the unwanted things within the heart, once they're gone, then the devotee should place Krishna on the throne of his or her heart, and then hold a festival. You invite everybody. Why wouldn't you? What else is there to do? Once Krishna is installed on the throne of your heart, no more ugra karma for you. It's all destroyed. You have only one business in life, and that is to worship Krishna in ever increasingly beautiful ways. And then one wants to share with as many people as possible. So the book distribution is because of Prabhupada's ecstasies. Prabhupada is feeling, how can I expand this to others? And he received the instruction from his spiritual master to print books. And he saw from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ordered printing presses. Where did he get them from for 20 points? Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio, these big printing presses. You can still see one. It's at the Bug Bazaar Mandir in the museum that the Gaudiya Math has in Calcutta. If you go to the top floor and you walk in, you can see one of those original printing presses. Prabhupada took it to heart how to unlimitedly expand the joy of Krishna consciousness, to give it to other people as much as possible. In fact, that's the Lord's mission himself. He expands himself so that he can have more joy. He's the essence of, he's the origin of all joy. And joy means more people come, more people chant, more people serve him, more people come to see his, take his darshan. Then his bliss increases from that. So the devotees not only have their own joy to share, but they want to share and bring people to give Krishna more enjoyment, the more people that come. So Prabhupada emphasized preaching. He taught it as a means to advance in devotional service. Those who take some trouble on themselves to go out, it's not that much trouble actually, is it? Because we're going out anyway. In fact, it reduces all the trouble. Because the trouble comes in dealing with people who aren't Krishna conscious and not being Krishna conscious oneself. But when you go out to give Krishna consciousness, it's impossible not to be in the presence of Krishna and to elevate each conversation to the level of Krishna consciousness. How are you going to distribute a book to somebody without mentioning Krishna or without thinking of Krishna? Tell me that. Does anybody have an answer to that? No? So the engagement of book distribution is an expression of this paramaya mudā. It's unlimited pleasure that we get from devotional service, and then we go out and share it with as many people as possible. One of the great joys of book distribution is distributing a book and then a moment later watching somebody pensively reading it. Have you ever seen that? Has anybody ever seen that?
Yes.
How many have really seen it? Raise your hand. It's nice, right? In the airport where we distributed books, sometimes a person would buy a book and then they'd sit down on the bench because they're waiting for a plane, and they'd open the book, start reading it. I'd sneak behind them and look to see what they were reading, because I was thinking, what are they getting out of this? Where are they reading from that book? So this is the impetus. His Holiness Gopāl Kṛṣṇa Mahārāja, in the very beginning of his promoting book distribution, thought to open a display in a bookstore, and he made a great arrangement for it. And it was a campaign for a month. It was advertised, money was spent. And afterwards he went to Prabhupada and reported that it wasn't very successful. And Prabhupada said, that is because books are distributed by the enthusiasm of my disciples. Enthusiasm, joy, mudā, that sense of, I'm so happy, I want to give this to other people. In fact, there's no technique for book distribution, so don't even ask me. Because the only technique is to be happy. And if you feel happy, then people are going to want what you have. If they look at you and they say, you know, this person looks happy, then they'll say, well, what do you have? What can you give me? Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadraji ki jai, Gaur Premanande Haribol. In fact, I had a stint in Chicago O'Hare Airport. It was the second most busy airport on the planet during the years that I was able to distribute books inside that airport. Number one was Hatfield in Atlanta. And I don't know what was happening in Delhi, but not as much as now. And definitely not Dum Dum. But in any case, I remember being so happy having Mangalartik in the temple. The kirtans were such that everyone was dancing. And then we'd have Bhagavatam class, Japa Bhagavatam class, and then we'd all sit together and take prasadam. And then we'd pile into a van, and they'd let us out. It was like we were shot from a cannon. And the only technique I remember is just being so happy that I'd actually get a running start, and then I'd stop and I'd skid into people. And I'd say, you look great. And then I'd hand them a book and say, these are books about pure love for God, and it's meant to wake up pure love for God within your heart. And today we just asked for a donation to help spread love for God. And that was it. That's all they told people. And it was just happiness, expressing happiness, distributing happiness, and being fully aware that if somebody was able to give something, a little attention to the book, take it home, give a donation, which will make them have more attention to the book, then it was a big success. And that's the life of the person who has the greatest opportunity to follow in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, to go out into the great unknown, just like catching the Jaladuta. Just put yourself in that mindset that you're catching the Jaladuta. What would it feel like? The exhilaration, to get on the boat, to fulfill the order of your spiritual master, books in hand, not a care in the world about not having facility, knowing that Krishna will support you. Are you feeling it? That's our legacy. That's what we do. We just depend on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because he's the one who writes the checks. It's not us. We depend on him, we follow his order, and we go out and we give it to other people. And every day when we have the opportunity to go out for book distribution, wherever it may be, it's the same sense of stepping on the Jaladuta. And now I'm going to depend on Krishna. Door to door. Have you ever been door to door for book distribution? How does that feel, knocking on somebody's door? You just don't know what's going to happen, right? And that's good, because not being predictable or being in a situation that's unpredictable is very good for Krishna consciousness. Because what do you do when you're in a predicament or in a situation where you don't know what's going to happen next and you have a sense of angst? What do? Yeah. Next word starts with a C. H. Chant. And the next two words starts with H and K. You chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you knock on someone's door, and then what do? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Because you don't know what you're going to say or do when the person opens the door. It's all unfolding in the moment. So book distribution is a great opportunity to stay in the moment and to continue to take shelter of Krishna at every moment to distribute books. And it's Buddha Yoga also, because as Krishna says in the Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami Buddhi Yogam tam yena mamupayati. I'm the one feeding you on the intelligence. And Prabhupada said about book distribution, 1975 in Vrindavan, our team of book distributors visited Prabhupada there to ask him a few questions, because we were supposed to teach other people how to do book distribution. And we said, well, what should we teach? And Prabhupada said, teach the devotees that if they're sincere and they try, and he went like this with his hand, then the master within their heart will show them how to do it. And he said, every devotee has his or her own genius how to do this, and it comes out by Krishna's grace when they try. Having said that, it's also helpful in expanding book distribution to take advantage of other devotees' geniuses, because you'll find that some who have sincerely applied themselves have come up with ways to very ingeniously distribute books to others. And I'm going to tell you a method that we discovered here in India maybe 6 years ago, that it's infallible and it's guaranteed. And how is it guaranteed? If you use this method and you don't distribute a book, I want you to make a little chit and send it to me, and I'll pay for the book that you didn't distribute using this method. But you have to follow the method. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, only about 13 people said yes.
Yes.
All right. So we discovered it in Jagannath Puri, because on all our yatras, we give everyone a book bag, because we don't want to leave anybody behind. So everybody who walks out the door gets a book bag. But what else do they get? Well, it's the result of in-depth research about how to distribute books in the Dham. So the technique is that we don't say anything, not a word. And as we discovered in Orissa, there's some body language that's very important. And it definitely works in Orissa, and it gives a major advantage in many other places in India as well. Should I tell you what it is?
Yes.
No, I think I'll tell you. All right, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Well, let me preface it by saying it's important to wear shoes that you can kick off your feet. So the shoes I choose when I go around the Dham, they're just flip-flops, because they're really easy to kick off and put back on. And this is one of the ways that we approach people. As soon as we approach, we do this and we kick our shoes off. And in Orissa, everybody else who you approach, they'll kick their shoes off. And that means this is serious. This is serious spiritual stuff. And here's how I found out about this. one year we were in Jagannath Puri, we were having a rip-roaring kirtan, and this man on a motorcycle pulled over and he started screaming at us in Aryan. And I had no idea what we were doing wrong. I mean, there we were chanting the holy names. And later when one of our guides, Madhavananda Prabhu, who lives there, showed up, I said, yeah, they were screaming at us. He goes, oh, you're having Harinam, right? And he says, yeah. Were you wearing shoes? Yes. It's a big offense here in Puri if you wear shoes and have Harinam. So that's when we started kicking our shoes off when we met people, and we realized what a boon it was. So right after that, we hand people some prasadam. Give me Exhibit A. Exhibit A. This is candy on a stick, otherwise known as a lollipop. Now, what's the history of the lollipop in ISKCON? 1972, Bhattu Gopāl Prabhu, the temple president of Cleveland, Ohio, saw the Salvation Army out on Christmas time. Merry Christmas, by the way. And they were distributing candy canes. And so he said, wow, they're collecting a lot of candy canes. We're going to get candy canes. And then someone wrote Prabhupada a letter, because that's what you did back then, saying these devotees in Cleveland, Ohio are totally bogus because they're distributing candy canes. And there was an exchange where Bhattu Gopāl explained himself. And then Prabhupada wrote back, and this is in the Veda base, he said, what is the harm? He said, all over India, pujaris go out and they'll buy simple sugar candies. They offer it to the deities, and then you distribute it as Mahaprasadam. He said, so you can do this, and you can offer it to the deities. So that day, in 1972, was born the lollipop. These are called dum-dums, and they're just sugar. You have the sugar you need to keep going. And so we give people a dum-dum lollipop, because in India people appreciate getting prasadam, but I would dare say every living entity likes getting a lollipop. Monkeys like them, and everybody likes them. So that's number one. Exhibit B, Hare Krishna sticker. And in Jagannath Puri, we give away a Jagannath sticker. Everywhere else, Hare Krishna will do. And number three, we have a book. This one happens to be in Telugu. Can anybody here read Telugu? Who? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, Telugu book. And now comes, I want to demonstrate this properly. These are what is known as language cards. Here's Hindi, here's, what is that? This is Tamil. This is Telugu. This is Kannada. And this is phone pay. They're all in one string that retracts, so nobody walks away with it. And so what we do is, we meet somebody, we kick off our shoes, and then we hand them a lollipop. Are you watching?
Yes.
A sticker. A book. And then the card. Phone pay. And now, as soon as we show them, then following Mr. Iyengar, who started the Iyengar process of yoga, we stand in mountain pose. And we don't move and we don't say anything. Now we're going to ask, said, wait, why are you laughing? Tell us, because You have some experience with mountain pose, right? Tell him. Give him the mic. Is there an extra mic? Sharing means caring. What tickled you about that?
I was thinking about how sometimes you don't need to say anything. If you just stand there and look happy and, chest out, eventually they understand that, they can give a donation.
They get it from the very beginning because
That's true, yeah.
it's in writing, right?
Yeah, but it makes our job easy.
Yeah. And one year we were at Raman Reti, and the whole yatra was distributing books using this method. That's in Vrindavan, right near Brahmanda Ghat. And everyone was doing great. And I asked one devotee, how's it going? He goes, it's really hard. And I said, well, what are you telling people? He said, well, I'm telling them in Hindi. He said, well, what are you talking for? The technique is to not talk. He said, yeah, but I know Hindi so well. And I said, that's your problem. Because when you show them on the language card, you know that they know that you know that they know. And that's why you just stand in mountain pose and wait for the free will to open up within the heart of the person. So that's one of the techniques we use here in India, and we use it everywhere. Everywhere we go, we have these ready to go. If we stop for gasoline, we jump out of the car, and before the gas pump fills up the car, we've done at least 3 books to 3 separate people, and so forth. So this is a viable way to distribute books. Now, I'll just say something more about distributing books in India. Have you ever distributed a Bhagavad Gita to an Indian in India? Yes? How did it go? I should have framed the question differently. Did you ever find any resistance to distributing a Bhagavad Gita to an India in India or anywhere else? I want to hear about the resistance.
They say they have the Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, of course they do.
I read Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you. Good enough. The way you sometimes think, well, everyone in India will buy a Bhagavad Gita. Not so fast. Because when you approach an Indian with a Bhagavad Gita and you try to give it to them, they immediately feel guilty. Because they feel like this is our book and we should have really read it. I should be distributing it to you, in fact. Why are you distributing it to me? So that's the psychology. So when we distribute Bhagavad Gitas to Indians, what we do is we don't hand them anything. If you hand them a card, they're gone. Because they'll say, oh, yes, thank you. It's online, I'll take care of it later. You just sabotage the whole process. If you hand them a Bhagavad Gita, they'll start getting nervous because they think you're trying to tell them that they need to come up to the standard. So what we do instead is we have the Bhagavad Gitas, but we say, oh, these are not for you. These are for others who don't know Bhagavad Gita already. In fact, you already know Bhagavad Gita. Your mother read it every day, and your grandmother memorized Bhagavad Gita. We say those 3 things. And then we preface everything with, as you know better than I. And we say that, as you know better than I, there are many problems in the world, and they can only be solved from a spiritual platform. And the best of all spiritual wisdom comes from the Bhagavad Gita, as you know better than I. What we're doing is printing Bhagavad Gitas in languages around the world where people don't know about it yet. And we're also starting schools to teach young people how to live the Bhagavad Gita and how to teach it to other people around the world. And what we're doing today is a fundraiser. We're collecting money, and we use it to spread Bhagavad Gita all over the world. Then we do mountain pose. And what we've found is, this is at least 10 times more effective in distributing Bhagavad Gita in India than walking up and handing them Gita and then debating about how our acharyas who commented on it are better than the acharyas in the 5 other Bhagavad Gitas that you have at home. It's better to predict what their objection's going to be and then diffuse that objection preemptively. And so their objection is, I already have Bhagavad Gita, I already know Bhagavad Gita, my mother read Bhagavad Gita every day, and my grandmother memorized Bhagavad Gita. So when you approach them, you say, this is not for you. You already have Bhagavad Gita. Your mother read Bhagavad Gita, and your grandmother memorized Bhagavad Gita, and then they're standing there like this. They wanted to say something, but nothing comes out because it was already preemptively spoken by you. And then when we ask for donation, they're very happy to give profuse amounts of Lakshmi. Because it's not tit for tat. It's not how much does the Bhagavad Gita cost. I already have the Bhagavad Gita. It's about helping to spread the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and how they can facilitate it. And now I'll stop talking and see if you have any reflections or questions. Yes, Mataji. Oh, I thought your hand was up. Who would like to ask something? Yes, Vaisesika, but go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So you mentioned how back when you were distributing books in the Chicago airport, you would simply say, this book is teaching people how to love God. Do you find that as the world changes, or perhaps as there's greater, greater, I guess, issues with people accepting other religions or spiritual practices, that the way to approach book distribution also changes? Or do you find that what worked back then with that line still applies today?
It's context specific. That was a different era. What's more, it was the Midwest. Midwest is rife with Christians, so they appreciated that. And in different places, if you go to Sweden, for instance, where there are more atheists per capita than anywhere else, you might want to adjust that a little bit. Yeah. 1, 2. Oh, 1, 2, 3.
Who's one?
Go ahead. Was your hand up? Okay. But wait. You're up.
Hare Krishna, I really liked your point about how joy wants to share itself. Sometimes I hear people like compare us to aggressive proselytizers, or they say like, my faith doesn't preach because like we don't feel the need to. Like, why do you guys do it? And I just think sometimes that, wow, like, you know, do they really experience joy in their own faith then? Because joy wants to share itself.
Yeah, that's true. And when that's there, there's a sense of there's a natural relationship we have when people see that you're happy. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to give another principle. Principles are good because you can take them away and use them anywhere. And one of the principles that I live by on book distribution and that I teach wherever I go is called the ripe fruit principle. And it's based on 11th canto Bhagavatam, in which Havi Yogendra says, Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dusatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti sa. The preacher, the Madhyama Adhikari, is careful about appropriately dealing with each kind of person. So with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, prema, anything to induce prema, to serve the Lord. With devotees, maitri, make friendships, appropriate friendships with devotees. With the balis, the balisheshu, the multitude of innocent people, kripa, try to give mercy. And for dvisatsu, we're upeksha. For those who are inimical, we don't push at all, we just let them go. So when you go to pick fruits, you look for the ripe fruits. You learn what's a ripe fruit, you leave the other ones on the vine. I'm very selective when I talk to people. If they don't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to them. I just let them go. It's better to be selective than it is trying to be aggressively convincing to people. So that's a principle that is very helpful. Tarini Kishori.
Hey, Krishna.
Oh, and yes, okay, go ahead. You can be the last one.
This is specifically related to Indian book distribution. So in Pune specific, I don't know, maybe this is Pune specific, but I get this question like quite a lot, like my mom specifically, because she's doing book distribution. So like they always ask like all the money from India is going to America to fund American temples. And so basically like, they always ask me like, why is ISKCON sending money from India to America? And how do we answer that?
I didn't get any. I talked to Prabhu after. We haven't gotten a penny from India. That's a misnomer. There's no reciprocity with money coming from India. And the only thing there is, really, is there's a building fund. And when we sell books, see, Prabhupada set up the BBT so that there was a profit, is a viable business. He said, I've hatched this transcendental plot, how by selling books, we'd also be able to expand ISKCON over the world. It's a brilliant plan. So we'd stick to book distribution, which it started to spike in 1973, when everyone figured out how to sell big books, and then it went up and up and up and up and up, even past when Prabhupada left. Up into about 1986, book distribution was on a steady increase. And then, okay, so not to get distracted, but when you sell a book, there's a markup from the BBT. That was Prabhupada's mandate. And then part of that money was used, all the original temples that you see around the world were built from BBT money. And Prabhupada also used the BBT as a bank. He would loan money to the places where they were trying to start a project. And then he'd charge interest, and the interest would go back into printing books. He was brilliant, the way he set the whole thing up. And still today, there's a mandate for, every place is different, has a bigger or smaller markup according to the place. India still has a very small markup, because when it started, India didn't have much going on, believe it or not. Now it's the opposite. And so there's no money coming from, I'll just cut to the chase. There's no money coming from India to America.
So yeah, I agree with that. And if you tell them that, they're like, no.
You told who?
I mean, like, not me, but like, let's say you say, okay,
Who?
like a devotee, like a random person on the street, they're starting to scream and yell at us, like, oh my God, ISKCON is bad.
Out of 20 people, how many have done that?
At least 5.
Really?
Yeah, it's at least in Pune, like we
Where?
remember. In like those downtown kind of areas.
Okay. This is news to me. Anyway, you can disabuse them of that idea that we're sending money to it. Okay. So now we have Nitai Sevani Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Sorry.
I think maybe it got far away from the...
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So in India, gentlemen got book distribution. People look when kind of a lusty gaze, and they're not used to people from good family, ladies from good family going out on the road and speaking to strangers. So they find it very weird. And they will give us a look like, are you not from a good family? Why do you want to come out on the road and speak with the strangers? And also because in India, there are many roadside vendors, street vendors, and people who go out trying to sell things. So we can assume a gang who's doing that on the road and feel like some kind of a beggar. That's one problem we face when we try to do book distribution in India. They don't look at us with dignity.
Yeah, there are social factors that can be considered. at certain times and places. We can't assume everybody's thinking that when they look. But some workarounds are that when devotees go together, as in a group or in pairs, it reduces that type of feeling that people might have quite significantly. And we recommend that devotees go together. And when we have a sense of something like that you're describing, we also have to be aware of how pervasive it is. Is it absolute? Is it a premise that would make us want to change course or do something different? I mean, there are cases when Prabhupada first had the devotees come from America to India, and they were doing Harinam, just like they did in America, which was the way that Prabhupada would send everybody out, do Harinam, and then people would come. It was different in India, and people started throwing rupees. And Prabhupada said, okay, stop the Harinam and do life membership. And he told Giriraj Swami, he said, the life membership is just a means to distribute my books. But he adjusted it according to the particular place and culture. So, yes, there may be certain ways in which people look at certain things that we do in certain ways. And that's part of our service, is to figure out how to adjust that in such a way that it's not prohibitive. As far as women going out on book distribution, Prabhupada was extremely encouraging of it in America, for sure. He encouraged the individual Vaishnavis by giving them extra attention, encouraging, and there were huge results from them going out on book distribution. Prabhupada quotes, gives an anecdote about how there was a company he knew and they only hired women because they went door to door and everybody would open their door when there's a big burly man standing outside. It's like, maybe not. And he was aware of how people might react to certain circumstances. So my general response is that we have to analyze each situation, see if it's an absolute perception or it's just in a certain part of town or certain people. And that's why I ask the questions, is it 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 100, or is it 19 out of 20 react in certain ways? Because we always get anomalies and people say, what happens if this happened? You go, how often has it happened to you in your lifetime? They say, well, twice. Out of how many excursions? Well, out of hundreds. And it's like, don't worry about it. It's not a big issue. So that's part of discussion of how to adjust things so that people feel comfortable. Yes?
One thing is, it's really easier with our thoughts, because they're curious, because they just want to talk to us, because we are not interested to talk to us.
Sometimes because we look different, people are interested when you're from the place. Like, people are not
interested
in speaking to people who are not from there.
Yeah, external considerations are there, but the overarching, and this is how I'm going to end the class, because this is what was started with, the overarching factor, the X factor, for success is Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya mudā Vasudevi Bhagavati Kurvanti Atma Prasadanim. When devotee's getting some prasad from the Lord, some grace, and feels happy, he or she can overcome whatever external circumstances there are. I've seen multiple times when devotees came out, since the time I started doing book distribution in 1973, and I thought, and others thought, that guy, he'll never be able to distribute a book. In fact, I went out with one of the devotees in the UK. It was his first time on book distribution, and this is more like circa 2014, and he's deaf. and can't speak, can't hear. And some devotees were, well, how are you going to train him up on book distribution? Well, I'll tell you, he did 3 times bigger than everybody else. And there was also once, they gave me this devotee to train up, and he was a stutterer. He stuttered so much that it would take maybe 3 minutes to do a simple thing. And I mean, how is he going to do this on a street corner? And he did bigger than everybody else. And then there was another one that he was a mumbler. And I thought, he's so shy and he mumbles everything. How's he going to do it? And I looked over and there he's going to mumble, 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 and people walking away with books. So there's an X factor that has to do with something more than just the external circumstance, either socially or whether it's the countenance of the person. It has to do with that feeling of happiness in the heart, because it transcends everything else. And when you have that, then you don't think about the other things as much, and nor do they. They just see, here's transcendence. That's not what they think, but that's what they see. They see something appealing from the person. And these processes of introducing book distribution, which we've just given a brief summary of here, are endlessly fascinating because it's engaging what we get here and taking it out to other people. And Prabhupada recommended it, and finding ways to do it in ever increasingly more effective ways is a preoccupation that can take you from pillar to post in this lifetime, so that you don't even notice what else is going on in the world that's distracting, because it's so absorbing just to think about how to adjust in such a way so that you can distribute more books. So I recommend it. I think book distribution is great. I think everyone should give a focus to book distribution, and if in whatever position, if you're in executive position, advocate for it. You don't even have to go out. You just say it's a good thing. And if you're looking to have an exciting life and you want to be happy, go on book distribution, because that's the happiest place on earth, wherever you're going out distributing books. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, thank you. Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Damodar, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhaja, and all the assembled devotees, if you so desire. Please empower us to expand book distribution all over the world, and for the next 3 days to expand it dramatically all over Vizag. Hare Krishna. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. That's it. That's all.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, I'm conscious of the time, but at the same time, we have this 70-second video. We're going to quickly play so you get just a glimpse of Maharaj distributing some of the books around the world. So you can turn around, and as soon as the video finishes, the breakfast prasadam is ready for the group, which is going to Simhachalam today. So you can exit, and please come for breakfast prasadam. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
That was door to door.
Hare Krishna.